Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Guess what? We are on a special night. It is Thursday. So I am so excited. I have a special guest that I am about to bring up. So we have a special show tonight. We're talking about lessons from a oh my Lord Jesus, I can't talk. A primary doctor in the pandemic. Thank God for edits. I just got off of a program with Usher's New Look and St. John Hopkins that was phenomenal. So I'm still on a high from that, but I'm excited to bring on my guest tonight, Dr. Renee. Um, Hi. I'm still doing the intro. So I'm so excited to have her here. I think we have do you hear some feedback on your end?
No, I don't. I did initially.
Yeah.
Let me turn are you getting some feedback?
I get feedback when I talk. Can you mute briefly so we can
I can.
do it? Okay. Yeah, we'll just have to do the mute unmute thing. All right. Thank you so much. So welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have you here tonight. As I said, we're doing some special things in honor of Women's History Month, and I'm bringing on some of my favorite women to do quality time with us because even though it's Women's History Month, Women's History is every day, just like Black history is American history. It is every day. And a lot of times we all get so tied up in everyone that's aspirational or everyone that's in the past. And I want to highlight some people that are the present and the future. So first thing I want to tell you is a little bit of housekeeping. If you know someone that needs us, tag them. If you know someone that there's another option, you can share. Sharing is caring. That would be excellent because I would love for people to hear this good stuff that's about to happen tonight. And if you're watching it later, no worries. Just put hashtag replay in the comments to let me know that you are here. So we're going to get to it quickly and bring my guest in, and we're going to have some super duper quality time. So I am your host, Dr. Ericka, double board certified and Harvard trained psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I am on a mission. I'm so passionate about helping people be better so they could do better and ultimately live better. I do that through my telepsychiatry, my books, and my speaking. And one of my superpowers is making mental health practical. And I do that so that you can get the life that you are created for. So tonight we're talking about lessons from a primary care doc during the pandemic. I'm super excited to have this guest here. And I know I've said excited twice already. And her name is Dr. Renee Roberts. She is a straight up superstar. She's one of those people that has reinvented herself and is a phenomenal family practice doctor, along with a really good human being. So I don't want to take all of her fire. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Okay, I've unmuted myself. Wow, thank you for the fabulous introduction, Dr. Ericka. Super excited to be here. As Dr. Ericka mentioned, I am Dr. Renee Roberts. I am board certified in family medicine. I had a little bit of a non-traditional path to medicine, but here I am. I spend my time working and mentoring the next generation of our healthcare heroes, so medical students as well as pre-med students too. I also was a former competitive figure skater. Woo! With the United States Figure Skating Association. So I also have a passion as well for helping athletes, just as I used to be a former athlete, make that transition to life after sports. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Ericka, for the wonderful opportunity to be with you tonight on the Dr. Ericka Show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I feel like I'm going to be saying I'm excited constantly during this episode. I'm just going to be like, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. Well, I'm technically not excited that we are still in this pandemic. As you all know, it started, people thought it would be quick, and it's over a year later. We are still in it. And one of the things I wanted to highlight is that doctors and especially primary care docs, ER docs, and there are other people that are really straight up front line. I'm lucky I get to see people between computer screens, so I don't have to see as many people in person. But one of the first lines of defense when it comes to COVID is a primary care doctor. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring her on. But the other thing is just being a doctor doesn't keep you from dealing with regular life with the pandemic. So we have lots and lots of things to talk about. But can you tell our audience a little bit about what your experience has been being a frontline worker during the pandemic?
Yes, absolutely. This has been a very interesting year, to say the least, for everybody involved. But yes, particularly for those of us that work in the healthcare field, and someone such as myself who practices family medicine at a federally qualified health center. So we do not close our doors to anyone. We've experienced a lot of challenges. I think looking back to this time last year, obviously all of this was completely new. No one knew what was going to happen, whether this was just going to last for a couple weeks, a month, but here we are a year later. I think just daily practice as a doctor, as I know it, has changed. Being in family medicine, we do a lot of continuity of care, a lot of face-to-face visits, multiple visits if necessary. So all of that was flipped obviously upside down when we were no longer able to be face-to-face. And the place that I happened to practice at, we had to transition to doing telemedicine, like so many others. And that was, it was very challenging at times. Definitely having to pivot, having to shift in terms of how do we still continue to deliver high quality care to our patients without physically being able to be in the room. Particularly for myself, in the location that I work at, a lot of my patients do not have the luxury of having tablets and laptops and smartphones that a lot of us take for granted. And so we were very limited, with our ability to actually see each other, on video. So we were heavily relying on telephone visits. Overall, yes, it can be exhausting. I think all of us are tired 12 months out, still wearing masks, still trying to socially distance, do your mitigation efforts, and then trying to educate your patient population about why these efforts are so important to help stop the spread of COVID.
Thank you so much for that information. And since you've been on the front lines and seeing so much, what are some common myths or misconceptions that you've seen patients come in with, or that they are even still coming in with, even this far into the pandemic?
Excellent question. And yes, even a year out, with all of the information that now has been made available to us, whether it's through news outlets, media outlets, social media, the myths are still out there. And now with the vaccine being launched, that has cracked open a whole new can of worms. But I still have, patients that think that COVID does not exist. Or if it does exist, it's not as serious as they're making it out to be. The numbers are being made up, fabricated. It's a hoax from the government. Again, not all patients. So I certainly am not trying to, overgeneralize. It's a very small handful. The overwhelming majority of patients are obviously recognizing the seriousness of this. There is this notion that, okay, the pandemic is here, COVID is here, but it can't happen to me. So I'm going to go ahead and hang out this weekend, and I'm going to go to this party because we've been cooped up in the house for the past, 3 months, 4 months, or lots of people are hitting milestones during COVID. It's my 21st birthday. It's my 30th birthday, or celebrating a wedding anniversary or an engagement or, what have you. And unfortunately, some of those people have been caught up in the middle of COVID and have contracted COVID. So I think those have been some of the biggest myths to deal with, that it doesn't exist, or if it does exist, it's a hoax, or that it's not as serious as people are making it out to be.
So one of the things I'm hearing is that people still have a lot of misconceptions about what's going on. And I agree. I was actually in Home Depot very briefly this weekend and ended up in a conversation with someone that worked there that was talking about all the government conspiracies they felt like were there. And I think there's this constant situation of trying to provide some education, but also respecting the fact that whether people take the vaccine as a personal decision, but also being able to stand up as Black doctors and let folks know that sometimes people are assuming Black folks have vaccine hesitancy. They don't want this vaccine, so we don't need to bring this vaccine to their communities because they're not going to take it anyway. And the reality of what I'm hearing and what I see, and when I talk to other people, is that there is some vaccine hesitancy, but the larger group of people want to get this vaccine, but they can't seem to get registered or get it, versus it being a situation where you're sending all these vaccines to these communities and all these people are saying no. And have you seen anything like that, Dr. Renee?
I've seen both sides of the point that you just made. On the one hand, I have, because the patient population that I serve is a heavy minority. I have a good mix of Caucasian, African American, Latino, Latinx patients. So I'll be honest, I have heard this argument from all groups, okay, with regards to vaccine hesitancy. Ooh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want to get it. Again, it's a government. They're trying to track us. They're putting listening devices in the vaccine. They're putting, I don't know what type of weird mess in the vaccine. We're all going to be growing 5 heads and 2 extra eyeballs a year from now because of the vaccine. And I just have some folks that are just adamant that they're not getting it, regardless of what their racial background is, regardless. But you did touch on a good point. Yes. Traditionally, historically speaking, African Americans have had vaccine hesitancy, and I'll be honest, for good reason. Thinking again back to the Tuskegee experiment, not a lot of African Americans have had a positive experience navigating the healthcare system in this country. And so in that regards, I understand where they're coming from, but I also happen to be Black, and I also happen to be a physician, and I also happen to understand the importance of vaccination. For me, as a personal decision, I did get the vaccine. I am now fully vaccinated. And I will be honest, I was a little hesitant at first myself, because I was like, man, we're both doctors. We've been to medical school. We've studied our anatomy and physiology and micro and pathology, and we know how long it can take for vaccine development. So I will be honest, a little hesitant at the speed with which this happened, but considering the alternative, considering talking to my other colleagues in other hospitals from around the US who have witnessed COVID firsthand with their own patients who were taking care of COVID patients, I'm going to take my chance with the vaccine, for me personally, rather than get COVID. The other point that you mentioned too, Dr. Ericka, too, on the flip side, I have several patients who are like chomping at the bit. I want the vaccine. I want the vaccine. When can I get it? How can I get it? And of course, the distribution of that has not been the best, depending on where you're at here in the United States. But the thing is too, is that I think with COVID, we have seen how the racial disparities have reared their ugly head during this pandemic in terms of vaccine distribution. Where is the vaccine going? Is it just going out to the well-to-do areas, or is it just being shuttled out to the suburbs? What about some of the hardest hit areas, your African-American communities, Latinx communities? And that has been a challenge for my patient population in particular. A lot of them don't have transportation. A lot of them don't have the extra funds to have internet access. Most of the registering that I've seen for COVID vaccine is coming through an email, through internet. And what do you do for those, patients that don't have easy access or can get a vaccine, but hey, it's 4 miles away and I don't have a car to get there, or there's no sufficient public transportation, which is the case with where I work, for patients to get that. So again, just a myriad of challenges, are still present. Even dealing with not even just mitigation efforts, but now with the vaccine rollout.
Thanks. You brought up some really good points. I want to switch gears a little bit and ask you. I know you mentioned that this has been a stressful time and sometimes you're exhausted. How do you balance the kind of work you do, because you still have to go to work and show up, people depend on you, with taking care of yourself, still being present for your family, including your fur baby?
Yes, we can't forget the fur babies. Okay. That is an excellent point. Again, Dr. Ericka, this has been a challenge. I'm pretty sure it's been a challenge for all of us. One of the things that I have noticed, my body has changed. Okay, during COVID, I'm now sporting a COVID muffin top, and I did not plan for the COVID muffin top because I was like, oh my gosh. In the beginning, I was like, this is it. The world's coming to an end. Okay, I'm going to eat my COVID snacks. And I ate them all. And then I was like, okay, we're still here. Now what? Because your metabolism starts slowing down. So I realized I needed to make a change. I needed to make a shift. I can't just snack out of, the emotional eating, okay? The fears, the stress of trying to deal with the pandemic. Am I going to get it? The stores are out of toilet paper. I can't find hand wipes or gloves or that type of thing. All these added stressors that play in outside of you having to have like work responsibilities. For me personally, I had to take charge of my health again. And not overextending myself, making sure that I manage my stress level, not saying yes to everything. Okay. There's a lot of things that I have not participated in, chose not to attend just because it was just too much for me personally at one time. No one is Superman, no one is Superwoman. And I think a lot of people probably felt like they still needed to be. It's a juggling act. I still have to show up every day. My office did not close. I know some doctors' offices shut down. Mine did not. I did not miss one day during COVID. We were still open. Our doors were still open. And so, trying to balance that and then come home and still have to run a household. As Dr. Ericka mentioned, I don't have biological children, but I have my fur baby, Mr. Biscuit, who still needs attention just like a child. Has been a juggling act. But once I started taking more time for me, getting extra sleep, okay, disconnecting from this. Okay, there's Mr. Biscuit. Disconnecting from my phone earlier at night. I had to take a social media holiday, okay, because it was just too much going on. Trying to balance, the Facebook, the Instagram, Snapchat, the Twitter, all of these things. I started noticing some good changes. I let go of the COVID snacks as best I could. I still have my cheats. And then trying to make sure I do something for myself, for my mind. Okay. A little bit of physical activity, taking a few minutes first thing in the morning to do some quiet time, meditation, has been very beneficial for me.
It sounds like all the things. You have been doing all of the things, because you mentioned boundaries, you mentioned exercise, focusing more on your health, because the earlier part, it just kind of went, I think everyone had a little fight with the COVID snacks at some point, if it wasn't the beginning, the middle, the end, all of it. And being mindful of your schedule, getting sleep, and just really starting to commit to being mindful about taking care of yourself. And I think that's a huge thing. And one of the things I also want to highlight is, I have numerous people on and we have a lot of conversations, and there are so many things that women do. and that there are still things to balance in life, even if you don't have a husband or you don't have children. There's still a lot to balance out there, because that doesn't mean life stopped, or that just because you're single, we still have families. They just might not be, we're not married to the family, but they're still family. So I want to highlight the fact that everyone is juggling something. It's just a matter of what is the juggle. So I want to switch gears just a little bit beyond just to say that Mr. Biscuit is the absolute cutest. He's super cute, but I have to say with Mr. Biscuit, sometimes I wish he loved me more. I love him decisively more than Mr. Biscuit loves me. You would hear Dr. Renee laughing, but we've been getting feedback if our mics are on simultaneously. So you can't quite get her laugh, but I see all of the movement and all of the laughter. So I want to do a few little speed round questions. So you ready? All right. So the first one is, what is the best lesson that you learned from your mom?
Ooh, good question. Oh my gosh. My mom has been a wealth of knowledge. I think one of the best words of advice she had ever given me, particularly when I was competing in figure skating. And let's face it, back then there weren't a lot of us. Okay, there wasn't a lot of brown folks out on the ice. And I remember getting ready to go to one of my first competitions and being all self-conscious about, oh my God, it's just going to be me and there's no other Black people out on the ice. And my mother was like, look, somebody is coming in first place today. Someone's got to win it. And why not you? And I think that is such a motto for life. Never be afraid to try something new or exit your comfort zone, because you might be the first. And as my mom had so brilliantly told me, not realizing how much I would still carry this with me to this day, is somebody has got to be the first, and why not you? Go for it.
I love it. Why not you? Because one of the things we see happen so often, especially with women and oftentimes with minorities, is imposter syndrome. And we've come up with every reason why it won't be us. And then we don't even step out for the opportunity because we've determined that we don't deserve it. So I love that one. So the next one is, what piece of advice would you give your younger self?
Ooh, ooh, Dr. Ericka, you just coming with the questions today. I love it. The best piece of advice that I could go back and give younger Renee: do not be concerned about what other people think about you. Who cares? Okay? In the grand scheme of things, other people's thoughts and opinions about you are just that, their thoughts and opinions. You dictate your story. You dictate your narrative. You got to know when to turn the little voice off. But hands down, I would have spent far less time being concerned about the thoughts and opinions that other people had of me. Real talk.
I love all of that. I'm giving all the finger snaps because it is so easy to listen to the rest of the world. And most of the time, what they're saying isn't even worth listening to. So I love that. The next one is, what is your favorite gift to yourself? It could be small, it could be big. It's up to you to pick.
My favorite gift to myself. Wow, you know what? I'll do something tangible. Okay. Traveling. I think traveling. I feel like that is an investment in yourself. Because there's so much that traveling can do. As you can tell, I love it. It's been a hard year because of COVID and haven't been able to do what I like to do. Because, I have a passport, honey, and I got stamps that need to be stamped on that passport. And my passport now has dust collecting on it. But yes, I have always told myself, I don't need to be hung up with the fancy clothes, the Gucci bag, the Prada. No disrespect to any of those nice things. I don't even own any of those. I could get it if I wanted to, but I don't, because I honestly would rather take that money and book me a trip somewhere around the world to learn about the people, the culture, the food, the dress, Whatever the case may be, I still have so many enriching experiences from trips that I've taken 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I'm not sure a Gucci bag sitting in my closet would be able to do that for me.
Well, okay, no Gucci passport stamp. I am down with that. And I think the beautiful thing is everyone has different things that just light up their lives. But I know there are all these different sayings about how experiences, not possessions, tend to enrich people's lives more. So the next one is you have a day off. I know, in reality, it feels like you never have days off, but you have a day off. Even hypothetically, what are you looking forward to doing?
Ooh, oh my goodness, and I can do whatever I want. Um, well, what I'm hoping to do, I need some serious time to catch up with friends. I really do, because again, the pandemic has just kind of thrown a wrench in everything, and that kind of involves traveling too, because a lot of my good friends do not live here in the same state that I live in. So, yeah, I think just reconnecting. If I had to have like an encompassing theme, is just having time to decompress and reconnect with the people that are important to me.
I love it. I love it because one of the things that's so important for all of us is that human connection. So I love the fact that when you think about things you do on your day off, it's things that hopefully people would be able to pour into you. So that is some great stuff. I have one last one. Well, no, I have two. I told a story. Two. So the next one is, what is one thing you do when someone either disrespects you or underestimates you?
Okay, I'm gonna start with the underestimating. Because Lord knows I have been through this many a day. They underestimated me when I was on the ice because they didn't think I could do anything, and I showed them. A lot of folks underestimated me when I was applying for medical school because that's a lofty goal and you should try something else. I showed them. I think with the underestimation, ooh, I love that. I love it when people tell me you're not going to be able to do this, or you're not good enough for this, or smart enough, or whatever, because you just lit a fire. You have literally just lit a fire in my belly. So underestimate me. I'll be more than happy to prove you wrong. Just sit down and wait. And what was the other one?
It was just one thing you would do if someone underestimates you or disrespects you. Either or, just what you do.
Okay. Well, I think with regards to someone disrespecting me, you teach people how you want to treat you. And some battles are worth fighting, some battles are not worth fighting. But if I really honestly had the energy and felt that I was being disrespected, I'd have a very friendly and pleasant conversation. Again, with the healthy boundaries to let people know it's not okay. Um, for you to speak to me in that way, say whatever it is again. Um, but sometimes I feel people do need to know that. So again, setting your healthy boundaries so they know what they can get away with and what they can't get away with.
I am down with the boundaries. I'm totally down with the boundaries. The last one is, what is your superpower?
My superpower. I think my superpower, if I had to just pick one thing or hone in on one thing, I think by far my sense of humor and being able to make other people laugh.
I love that. I love that. And you have a smile that lights up a room. It is such a beautiful thing. So we're about to wrap up and set the people free. What would be your final thought or takeaway that you want to leave with the audience?
Oh, well, thank you. Um, I guess my final thought, my final prayer, my final wish for your audience is to never settle yourself short. go after whatever it is that you want. I don't care how scary it is, how much experience you don't have, whether you feel like you've got what it takes or do not have what it takes. What you tell yourself is the truth. But live your life with no regrets. There's no do-overs. There's no second chance. And I think this past year dealing with COVID has taught us all that lesson, that life is precious, and it's worth going after the things that you want, no matter what.
I love all of that. I'm going to do my best to take all that advice, all of it. And can you do me a favor? Can you let the people know how to find you or connect with you outside of this lovely show?
Yes, I see Dr. Ericka so lovely has put a lovely banner down at the bottom. I am on all things social media, most social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me at Dr. Renee MD. That's DrRenemd. And if you love to tweet, you can find me on Twitter at Dr. Renee Roberts.
Thank you so much. You need to follow her because she's so intriguing. And on top of the fact that she's brilliant, she's smart, and she's fun, is then you get these little peeks of the cutest dog ever. And when you are stressed, pictures of Mr. Biscuit are super therapeutic. So I want you all to follow her. Just let your fingers do the walking. If I had to say, oh, that's so cute. What my thing is I think it's great. You know, I have to piggyback on what Dr. Renee just said. I have a cousin that it's kind of like an uncle. It's my dad's first cousin, but my dad acts like he's his brother. And he used to say, never tell yourself no. With the subtext being, let someone else do it, which is, you know, step out there. Don't assume people will say no. Act like they won't. A lot of times you'd be surprised what you get or what opportunities arise if you don't talk yourself out of them. One example is I was in a restaurant. They had the best butternut squash I'd ever had in my life. I think it had walnuts, cranberries, all this stuff in it. It was so good. And I asked them, I just on a limb said, can I get the recipe? You know what they did? They brought out the one that the chef had used. I guess that they used because you could tell it had all these thumbtack holes in it and just gave me the recipe. Now, granted, it was a little complicated. I never ended up cooking it. But who would have thought a really nice restaurant would literally give me the recipe to a dish? But it's because I asked. And I think the first thing, the biggest thing is, you know, I think if there's one thing we've learned as doctors or even just being people or human beings experiencing this pandemic is that you have to hold on to every single day because life is not promised. You have to really take advantage of your opportunities and really step out there and live life and not just let life happen to you. So that's what I'd love to leave you with. Again, if you know someone that needs us, just tag, share, all that good stuff. Again, I'm your host, I can't even say who I am lately today. I'm all over the place, all over the places. I am your host, Dr. Ericka, Harvard-trained, double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I'm extremely passionate about helping people be better so they could do better and ultimately live better. I do that through my adult telepsychiatry, my books, including Fix Your Fairy Tale, A Woman's Guide to a Great Life, Love, and Legacy, and my speaking. My superpower is making mental health practical because you know what? It's a lot easier when it's easy to do. And that's what I do so that you can claim the life that you deserve. Thanks again for having me. I've got a couple of really quick announcements. Tomorrow I will be a guest on Thoughts and Moments on their radio show. It comes on at 5 Eastern. You can just go to the Thoughts and Moments page on Facebook. The other thing is on Friday, I'm on a special time, a special day at 11:15 a.m. with Dr. Sam Price. She's super phenomenal, one of my super friends. She is a naturopathic physician. And we're going to talk about what's a naturopathic physician and building your healthcare team. Because I won't even lie. Before I knew some naturopathic physicians, I really didn't know exactly what they did. So I want to bring that to you because right now, a lot of us are trying to figure out what's the best way or what are different options for us to take care of our health and take care of this vessel that we only get one of. So you have your usual prescription to call at least one person and tell them that you love them. You can get the Overwhelm Blueprint. I can't even talk today. I can't talk. But I have a free ebook for you at overwhelmblueprint.com. Overwhelmblueprint.com. We're just going to just leave that there. It's an ebook for the Overwhelm Solution Blueprint. Make sure you call at least one person and tell them that you love them. I'm sure they will tell you they love you back. And that will fill everyone's love bucket. Sending out much love to Dr. Renee. Thanks again for being on the show. I hate we have feedback, so we can't talk simultaneously. But she knows I love her because I tell her. And that's what we all need to do. We need to tell the people we love that we love them. Have a great night and thank you.